When was the last time you were genuinely excited to buy a game? Not the familiar reflex of sale notification, not the low-graded impulse of something cheap enough to justify without thinking. Actually excited, the kind where you find yourself thinking about it before you go to sleep, where the purchase feels something that means something. If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. For a lot of backlog players, buying games stopped feeling exciting a long time ago. Not because the games got worse, but because buying games became too easy, too automatic, too disconnected from anything that feels like a real decision. But recently, I came across a system shared by the player called Good 7 Stuff over the Infinite Backlog that solved this in a way that I generally haven't seen before. Not by telling you to buy less, not by shaming you for your backlog, but by making the act of buying mean something again. And the way it does, it's surprisingly simple. So, let's go! Welcome to Telplay. I'm Vasha, and this channel is about being intentional with the games you play, the habits, the psychology, the honest conversations about what actually looks like to manage a backlog when real life is happening around you. Today's video is a little different from the usual format. I'm not sharing my own system, I'm sharing someone else's, because it deserves to be heard by more people than the forum thread it was posted in. A player called Good 7 Stuff posted about this on a community called Infinite Backlog. And what struck me when I read it, it wasn't the mechanics of the system. Though those were clever, it was the reason the system exists. The problem it was built to solve, and the specific thing it gave back to the most backlog players have quietly lost without quite realizing it. Good 7 Stuff figured out how to make buying games feel like a reward again. Not through willpower, not through a spreadsheet, through a system that connects the act of finishing games directly to the privilege of buying new ones. In a way that creates real stakes, real selectivity, and a real excitement around purchases that most of us stopped feeling a long time ago. I want to walk you through how it works, why it works, and how you might adapt it to your own library and your own habits. Full credit goes to Good 7 Stuff for building this. All I'm doing is giving it a bigger stage, because I think it's generally one of the smartest backlog systems I've come across. If you've ever felt like buying games became just another automatic thing, another reflex, another bundle, another sale you click through without really deciding, this video is for you. So let's go into the method. Before we get into the mechanics, we need to spend a moment with the problem, because the token system only makes sense once you understand what it was actually designed to fix. And Good 7 Stuff describes that problem in a way that's worth sitting with. There was a period, familiar to most backlog players, where the sales go out of hand. Not catastrophically, not in a way that anyone on the other world have flagged as a problem. Just a steady, reasonable seeming accumulation of discounted games that were interesting enough to justify at that price, even if the interest wasn't quite strong enough to justify at a full price. A bundle here, a flash sale here, a sale we've been vaguely curious about for 2 years. Suddenly 75% off, added to the cart without much deliberation. Good 7 Stuff describes what happened to the feeling of buying during that period with a phrase I keep coming back to. It became a lukewarm emotion. Not exciting, not meaningful, just another title added to the collection of titles, most of which share the same quality. There were really good deals on games with middling interest behind them. Games that might get played at some point, games that might not. And this is the thing that I think most backlog players recognize by rarely saying it out loud. It's not that the backlog got bigger during those periods. It's that buying games stopped feeling like anything. The excitement that used to live in a new purchase, the sense that something real and chosen was joining the library, got diluted down to almost nothing by the sheer volume and automaticity of it all. The problem wasn't the games. The problem was that the decision has stopped being a decision. When everything mildly interesting gets bought because the price is low enough, the purchase loses its character as a choice. It becomes a reflex. reflex. And reflexes don't produce excitement. They produce the quiet, slightly flat feeling of having done the thing you were always going to do regardless. Good 7 Stuff knew something needed to change, and the insight that led to that token system was a specific one. Not that they needed to buy less, but that they needed buying to cost something again. Not financially, psychologically. The fact of acquiring a new game needed to require something real from them before it could happen. That insight is the foundation of everything that follows, and it's worth naming clearly before we get into the mechanics, because the mechanics only work if the insight lands first. The token system isn't a productivity hack. It isn't a way to game your own backlog into submission. It's deliberately constructed answer to a specific emotional problem, the loss of meaning around something that used to matter. That's what makes it worth paying attention to. So let's get into the mechanics, and I want to walk through this carefully because the elegance of this system is in the details. The core idea is straightforward. Every time you reach a milestone in game, you have a token, and the tokens are only currencies you can use to buy new games. That's it in the foundation. But the way Good 7 Stuff built out the milestone structure is where it gets genuinely interesting. The 3 token tiers. There are 3 tiers of completion, each one worth a token. The first token comes from beating the game, finishing the story, seeing it through in a natural conclusion. Not 100%, not every achievement, just the core experience completed. That earns you 1 token. The second token comes from going further, from 100% completion of the game. If after finishing the story you decide to go back and get everything, clear every side quest, find every collectible, reach full completion, that earns you a second token on top of the first. The third token comes from achievement completion specifically. If after full completion there are still achievements remaining and you choose to pursue them, clearing the achievement list entirely, that earns you a third token. So a single game takes all the way from the first boot to a full achievement completion is worth 3 tokens. And a game you beat but don't go back to is worth 1. A game you complete but don't achieve hunt is worth 2. The system doesn't punish you for stopping early. It rewards you incrementally for going further. Each layer of engagement has its own return. The 5 token purchase rule. And then comes the purchase side. Originally, Good 7 Stuff set the price to a new game at 1 token, 1 completion milestone, 1 purchase. But this turned out to not be enough of a friction. The backlogs keep growing. Games were still being added faster than they were ever finished, and the system was slowing the accumulation but solving the underlying problem. So the price went up to 5 tokens. 5 tokens to buy 1 new game, which means to purchase something new, you need to have seen 5 completion milestone across your library, 5 meaningful moments of actually engaging with what you already own before a new title gets to come in. And here's where the design gets sharp. 5 tokens is a number that creates real stakes without being punishing. It's achievable, and players working through the backlog with genuine intention can earn 5 tokens across a few games without feeling like an impossible climb. But it's high enough that it cannot be cleared on a single weekend of light gaming. It requires substantial engagement, real progress, actual completion of things. And crucially, when you do arrive at the 5 tokens, the purchase that follows is completely different in character from the impulse buy, because you've sat with your wish list across the weeks or months it took to accumulate those tokens and ask yourself repeatedly, when I finally have 5, what do I actually want the most? Is it this one, or is it something I really want more? The question asked not once in the head of a sale moment, but repeatedly over time while earning the right to ask it. It's what produces selectivity, and selectivity is what produces excitement. Good 7 Stuff puts it plainly, because the tokens represent real effort, the decisions of what to spend time on carries real weight, and that weight is what turns a purchase back into a choice, a meaningful one, the kind that produces the feeling most backlog players have been quietly missing. The backlog as an opportunity. There's always something worth noting about what the system does to games you might otherwise have skipped entirely. When the tokens are the only path to new purchases, the games already sitting in your backlog stop being a pile of obligation and start being opportunities. A game you added 3 years ago and haven't touched suddenly has something new attached to it, the potential to earn tokens you need, which means there's a genuine reason to give it a chance that doesn't exist before. Not guilt, not obligation, actual incentive. And sometimes Good 7 Stuff notes those are the games that surprise you the most, the ones you wouldn't have started without the nudge, that turned out to be exactly what you needed. That's a design outcome worth appreciating. The system doesn't just manage the backlog, it creates conditions where the backlog becomes genuinely interesting to engage with again. So yeah, this is the token system by Good 7 Stuff, and I really wanted to share it. I would have spoken a lot more in detail about this one, but I figured out that dragging this whole video to maybe 40 minutes would have been pointless. So this all matters to you at the end. If you want to tailor it for your own library, definitely you can change a few things, like the way your tokens are being gathered or how many tokens you can use in order for you to make your next purchase. I think it's a great and very smart way to operate, and if purchasing games feel like they lost their charm, definitely give this method a try. But I want to hear from you, and I want to know two things. First, does this system resonate with you? Is this something you could see yourself actually doing? Or does it feel like too much structure for how you naturally engage with gaming? There's no wrong answer. Good 7 Stuff said themselves it won't work for everyone, but I am curious where you land. And second, if you have your own backlog system, something you built or adopted that generally changed your relationship with your library, share it in the comments. This channel exists for exactly that kind of community knowledge. One person's honest system shared in the right place can change how someone else's games entirely. Good 7 Stuff proves that. So drop them down below. I'll read every single one of them, and as always, I will comment to every single one, so don't think I will skip you. And I've also placed the Good 7 Stuff post so you can go and check it out. I'm pretty sure that he would appreciate if you could go ahead and reach out to him and just tell him that his system helped you out. He gave more details on his page. I didn't want to go into everything and just strip away, but all credit goes to him. If this video helped you, I would appreciate it if you are just gonna hit the subscribe button. It helps me with the algorithm as well, liking, commenting, and all that kind of stuff, and turning the bell notification if you want to hear more videos related to the backlog, about backlog management, about methods like this that help out other people to manage better their backlog, and if they're feeling overwhelmed with whatever they're doing. Because let's be honest, let's make gaming fun, let's make it worthwhile, let's make it in a healthy way, without addictions, without constraints, without obsessions, because all of this stuff can really ruin our experience with games. So my name is Vashral, and as always, God bless, have fun, and happy gaming.
Starts the hunter and the dreamer say together.